Good morning, everyone. My name is Mariela Salinas, and I'm a marketing specialist here at Educate 360. Welcome to today's webinar, Business Analysis for Project Managers, presented by our amazing instructor, Andrea Brockmeyer. Educate 360 is so excited to present this webinar today, and without further ado, I will now hand it over to you, Andrea.
All right. Thank you so much, Mariela. Greetings, everybody. It's terrific to be here to talk with you about BA for PMs. This is one of my hot things that I feel the most passionately about. So it's just really great to share my thoughts with you. Going to start with a poll. I just want to get a quick sense of who we have here with us. And so I am going to run this real quick, or maybe I'm going to have Mariela run this real quick, if you can. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which
I'll
of
let
the
it run
following
for
best describes, your primary role?
Yeah, let it run for about 30, 40 seconds.
Yeah. And most of the time. I thought about putting, I'm not sure, as an option too. I think I've done that before. I don't know. I just show up. I'm busy.
I like that other though. The other's kind of like the I'm not sure, huh?
Yeah.
Alrighty. All right, we got 50 seconds in, so I'll go ahead and close the poll. Thank you all so
Thank
much
you.
for answering. And here are the results.
Great. Okay. So it is PMs. Okay, great. And a good chunk of PM BA hybrid folks. All right. Awesome. And some BAs as well. Glad to have folks who are normally BAs in here. I think you'll find this to be pretty confirming of things that you already know, maybe some things that others already are thinking too, but thank you very much for that. All right. So why do I feel pretty strongly that PMs need to get better at business analysis? And there are a couple of things that play into this. But why is that? Well, if you look at some of the things that have been published in recent years, inaccurate requirements gathering, insufficient requirements gathering, absent requirements gathering, I don't know, pick your adjective there, consistently ranks in the top 3 causes of project failure, yet only half of organizations have the resources in place to perform this function properly. And these are things not just that I read on some website. These are things I hear consistently from my students, and I hear consistently in the field that we just don't really have what it takes to do good work around requirements. Or from a couple of years ago, IIBA's annual survey, almost half of BAs report that their biggest obstacle is people not understanding their role. Almost half of BAs, their biggest challenge at work is that people don't understand what they do. Imagine if PMs had to deal with that. I don't think PMs have to. I don't think people are like, what is project management? People don't experience that as project managers. And so then I looked at, what's the latest from IIBA? This is their latest global state of BA report. The biggest barriers in the role, again, understanding the role of business analysis. Now that's down to 10%. I don't know if they capture that information differently, if you can only vote for one or something like that, but also decision making and explaining business analysis to others. Seriously. I mean, that's their biggest barrier, is having to explain BA to other people. And if you look at the top barriers to business analysis from that report, really, I'd suggest all of them, nearly, a good chunk of them, are related to the lack of understanding about what BA is. Not enough, we're not brought in early enough to define questions because people don't understand what BAs do. Having to explain it, lack of support at different places. Even, the fact that they're not included in decision making, recommendations don't get used. Again, I'd suggest because people don't really understand what BA is about. And if we can all agree that good business analysis is critical to project success, which has been demonstrated over and over and over again, I mean, this is a problem. And insofar as the PMs are the managers of the project, this is in their interest to in their interest to understand that. I'd be surprised how many organizations still lack the knowledge of what a PM is and its full functionality. That could be, and it does change from organization to organization. But I think if you went around and you just randomly asked, say, a half a dozen people, what is project management? You'd get a lot better answers than if you randomly just ask, a half a dozen people in your organization, what is business analysis? And I think the disparity of answers would be much wider with that BA answer. But that's probably true. I don't hear it as much. Yeah. Yeah. So what is a BA? Well, I'll tell you what, a BA is anybody who is doing the work of business analysis as captured in the IIBA standard, as captured in a PMI BA standard. It's anybody who's doing the work, of course. It's not a title, it's a role. And I am pretty big on the idea that actually, I think everybody does business analysis. Once you understand what it is, everybody is doing it. And the thing is, even if you don't have a BA on your projects, business analysis is getting done. You can't get a project done without it. So either we're going to look at it and understand it and do it well, or we're just going to kind of, flounder through and get it done however it gets done. And those consequences are substantial. But I feel pretty strongly that everybody actually is doing BA at some level. So business analysis, some different definitions: a set of activities performed to identify business needs, recommend relevant solutions, and to elicit, document, and manage requirements. Of course, that reference to requirements there, which is always what we think of BAs as doing. Or the practice of enabling change in an enterprise by defining needs, recommending solutions that deliver value to stakeholders. That sounds great. Or a set of activities to perform to support delivery of solutions that align to business objectives and provide continuous value to the organization. Those sound great. I think those are great. You can pick which one you like the best. I think those are all great. I think a lot of times PMs will look at these and say, I think I do that. Don't I do that? I think that's something that I do. Well, actually, let's take a look at how we might tweak these a little bit to more specifically address the project management work. So PM is activities performed to deliver the results of the efforts to identify business needs or recommend relevant solutions. The practice of enabling change in enterprise by defining needs and collaborating on how to deliver the solutions. Okay, so the business analysis is all about the product, the end result, figuring out the solution. Project management is the delivery of that, right? And then a set of activities performed to support delivery of solutions that align to business objectives and provide continuous value to the organization. I'm personally fond of that definition. I think that captures it for both BAs and PMs as well as the other two. I would say, however, that business analysis is more focused on the continuous value of the organization post-project. Okay, so the ones who are saying, did we actually meet the value proposition of the business case? That's the BAs who are doing that. Project managers are done with the project, and we'll take a look at a visual here in a minute. The other thing we can do to distinguish between business analysis and project management, which isn't always easy, particularly when you're doing both, those hybrid PMBAs. What's important about business analysis? Well, we make sure that the solution meets the stakeholder needs, that we get buy-in from stakeholders, that different viewpoints and needs are captured, that we're streamlining processes and eliminating waste in the organization, ensuring that solutions add value to the organization and stakeholders, and positioning the organization for success by enabling change. Now, again, PMs look at this and say, well, I do this. Don't I do this? Yes, you do. But again, we need to just modify a couple of these a little bit to more specifically address how the project management lens is different than the BA lens. So BAs ensure that the solution meets the stakeholder needs. The PM is making sure that the project meets the stakeholder needs. That is the work that is being done to deliver that solution. They're both obtaining buy-in from stakeholders, different stakeholders sometimes. Sometimes there's similarities or overlap, but sometimes there are different stakeholders. They're both ensuring that different viewpoints and needs are captured. Again, some similarity there, but differences. Now, BAs are focused on organizational processes and eliminating waste. The project manager is focused on streamlining project processes and eliminating waste. Right? So there's a distinction there. They're making sure that the project adds value to the organization and stakeholders, as opposed to the BA, which is focused on the solution adding value. And then positioning the organization for success by enabling change, I'd suggest that BAs and PMs both get roped into org change management, which just adds on to an already full plate. So if you're the PM and the BA and you're doing the org change, you're tired. You're tired because they're all full-time jobs. Yeah, David, hang on to that thought. Oh, huge. The BAs do the PM and the PMs do the BA. Absolutely. And this is the thing. They're both really important. But if you can be clear about the distinction, you're better at both. And that's kind of the premise that I'm going to end up on. And that's the premise I'm working from here. It's important to understand because they're different, right? So here, David, is and everybody, just an illustration of how BA and PM overlap. Okay, so if you look at the boundaries of the project here, you've got your, initiating, closing the project here. Business analysis happens pre-project, right? The whole effort of looking at what's wrong in the organization, what do we need to do to fix it, what are the options, feasibility, everything that goes into a business case is business analysis work. Okay, now we talk about project managers being involved in that potentially. I don't know that that's often the case. They certainly need to understand the business case, but it's actually BA work to shepherd that whole effort. And of course, that business case then is an input into initiating the project. Right? Post-project, on the outside the end boundary of the project, is evaluating the solution or solution component. So this is where we're looking at this benefits realization. We're circling back around to the business case. Did we actually increase sales by X number of dollars? Are we improving customer satisfaction? And that could be 3 months after the close of the project, 6 months, a year, 3 years, whatever. And so the BA work actually spills outside the boundaries of the project. And I think this is where, particularly for people who are doing BA and PM, we tend to say, okay, project's over, done with that, off to the next thing. And we often, I think many organizations are not very good about going back in and looking at, was that investment really worth it? Or if they are, that doesn't always get communicated, I think, to the people that did the work. I think there are often metrics that we're, for whatever reason, not privy to. And that's unfortunate because that's solid, that's BA work. And that's something that everybody who is involved should have insight into. And then throughout the project, analyzing and documenting requirements, which isn't to say there aren't certain types of requirements outside the boundaries of the project, but the bulk of that requirements effort is within the project, figuring out, the features and functions. What does this solution need to do? How are they going to use it? What are the characteristics of it? Planning for their effort throughout, eliciting and collaborating, engaging stakeholders, managing requirements, making sure that they're adding value, making sure that we can use them next time, those kinds of things happening throughout. But the thing is that, again, when you're doing both, or you're not sure where this work is getting done, it's really helpful to identify where those things are different, where do they overlap. It just makes it easier to either do both or to collaborate effectively. And then the other thing is that can add confusion a little bit, is you've got the project charter, which is, again, the business case is an input into that, which is kind of right on the cusp of that project delivery. And the BA and PM absolutely need to collaborate closely on that, right, to make sure the business case is represented in the charter. And then that business benefits management plan, or there's reference to that, in PM standards. It's not really a PM document, it's a business document, but presumably the project manager is looking at that as they're managing the project to make sure that as they make decisions for the project, that they are yielding value for the business, right? And so, that's something that kind of spills outside the boundaries of the project as well. And again, there is reference to the project, making sure that as a project manager, I know, did we deliver value? But I think by and large, the project's over, we're off to the next thing. Whereas business analysis, it's hard coded into the practice. Okay. All right, so two different lenses that we're looking through. And think about, communications, risks, decisions that get made around resources. What are the different questions, that PMs and BAs ask, or what are the different considerations that they need to make? How is this different? Well, if somebody's thinking, who needs to know, who do we need to communicate with if we're going to miss a project deadline? That's a project manager that needs to be finding out, what that answer is. Who needs to know about the status of requirements? That's something that a BA is going to answer. Who needs to know about changes? Well, changes to what? Changes to the project or changes to the product? Okay, they're both answering that. How about risk? What if people won't make time for a requirements workshop? I can't get people together. What kind of a risk is that? That's a BA risk, right? What if we lose a developer? Well, it's a project risk. Right? What if the business case changes? We need to talk. We need to both think about that. What do we need for BA resources? Obviously a BA thing, right? Who's going to do the elicitation? Who's going to do the tracing? Who's going to do the documentation? Who's going to do the workshops? Who's going to do this and that? What do we need for project resources? Who's going to build it? Who's going to test it? Who's going to implement it? How are we going to work with the value management office or the project management office or the center of excellence or whatever it is? We both need to talk about that. Let's figure it out. What's there? What are the resources that we have available? What are the expectations of business analysis and project management from those centers? So we often end up looking through the same lens, or we've got two people looking through two different lenses. But as a project manager, I need, whatever my resource landscape looks like. I have a PM, I have a BA, I have one person that does both. I'm not sure. PMs who understand business analysis have better clarity to distinguish their project management work from the BA work, and they are different. And they're better positioned to recognize when they're doing BA work and to use that lens to be thinking about themselves as the caretaker or the custodian of the product, the solution, as opposed to when they are doing PM work and using that perspective as the custodian or the caretaker of the project. When do I participate in product-related events or activities? When do I participate in project-related events or activities? I'll be better positioned to know that. And importantly, and this is a big one, and actually I've been thinking a lot more about this one, to whom are they accountable? As a project manager, to whom am I accountable? And I'd suggest most people would answer the sponsor, right? My accountability is to the project sponsor. This is one of these things where most people, when they think about project management, there's not a lot of deliberating about that. And that doesn't mean we necessarily have great sponsorship practice, but who's the PM accountable to? The sponsor. Who's the BA accountable to? A lot of people will say the PM, and I'm going to tell you, I used to kind of say I'm not very comfortable. I am super uncomfortable with that. That is absolutely not who the BA should be accountable to. They're accountable to the business, right? And so that is a huge thing. If I'm wearing my PM hat, who do I need to be thinking about? Where do I get confirmation of decisions? Where do I get the assistance and the perspective that I need? As a BA, I'm not going to the PM for that. I'm going to the business. And if I'm trying to be a hybrid BA PM, it gets pretty conflicting if I'm trying to be accountable to myself. But also, the BA needs absolutely the value that they're delivering is to the business. And that's where they're getting their requirements. That's where the need comes from. That's how they're meeting the organizational need, which all stems from the business in that business case. So that's a huge question. We could have a whole separate, I think, session around that and the implications of that distinct accountability. So those are some of the things where there's overlap and that can be confusion as a PM and BA. This all seems a little muddy, and we can try to get that, uh, more explicit and sussed out a little bit. There are some other things that BAs do that PMs don't even think about usually. Things like business rules. This is, just nuts and bolts BA stuff. What are those self-imposed constraints on how we do business, right? That, whether it's you have to have a manager approve something before you can offer a discount. Excuse me. Customers have to have a valid account to withdraw cash. And those aren't typically specific to a particular solution or initiative. A lot of times they're specific to the, all projects in a department or an organization. These are things that need to be clear. And these are things that project managers often don't even think about. These are critical. And then the whole idea of traceability. Now, it's true that project managers have their own requirements types, but they're not doing tracing like BAs do. And the traceability, whether that's done formally in a requirements traceability matrix, or it's done more informally, just looking at some of the tools that you can use, like say an impact map, where you're mapping to goals and just the exercise. Make sure that the features that you get for your solution are aligned with the business need. I mean, again, nuts and bolts BA stuff, super valuable, absolutely critical. Ensures that that product stays in scope, ensures that that product is adding, or solution is adding value. And without this, the solution is at risk of running outside of scope and not delivering value, which means, of course, the project and the work to create that solution also, is putting the organization at risk of waste. I mean, that's bad. We don't need that. So PMs who understand business analysis and spend a little time understanding this appreciate the BA work that needs to be done on their project. This is not fluff stuff. This is also not like, okay, why don't you go take a few weeks and get requirements and come back when you're done. That is not what business analysis is about. So PMs who understand this are appreciative of that work, and they're more effective advocates for that work and the people that are doing it. And whether that's them or someone else, they can advocate for that. So a lot like, you think about project managers who have team members who understand project management. I do PM training for team members. They're way more effective as team members when they understand what's expected of the project manager, right? Or sponsors who understand project management. People get put in the role of sponsors. I don't know why we expect them just to know how to sponsor without training, but they get put in the role of sponsor when they understand project management a little better and they understand what's expected of them and the project manager. They're way more effective sponsors. And it's the same thing with project management and business analysis. The biggest barrier to BAs continues to be people not understanding their role. Think about that. We can do better than this as project managers. It's in our interest to do better than this, because when we understand business analysis, we're better at both the PM and the BA work we do. That's one of the things that when you get certified in business analysis, and it's like it just all of a sudden your project management work comes into sharper relief because you can contrast it with the BA stuff, and you're so much more effective because you know which hat you're wearing, and you can understand when others are doing that work. You appreciate what is required to deliver quality projects and products. Two different things. And they both need to be high quality. And that doesn't happen because somebody takes 3 weeks and goes and gets requirements somewhere. And we've become advocates for the inclusion of good business analysis and maybe even BAs on our projects to enhance project and product value. And we start to chip away at organizations where BAs aren't getting support from management. They're not getting support from other functional areas for the work that they do, because nobody is winning on that. That isn't just a cost to the business analyst. It's a cost to the organization because this work is absolutely critical. So we'd love to help you learn any aspect of business analysis. We've got our family of brands here that help folks get the skills they need. You can come at this from a technical perspective, soft skill, power skill perspective, process perspective, quality perspective, just lots of things. We'd love to help you out and partner with you on that. And we've got some great BA classes coming up, and check our website for more. This is just a smattering of the dates that we have on our calendar. I'd like to call out the eliciting requirements class on February 14th. And let me tell you, folks, nothing says I love you like sitting in an eliciting requirements class with your special someone. So, be better able to elicit what it is that they really need. So I'd like to highly recommend that one. But that's what I've got. So thank you for your time today, and a couple of minutes here left for questions if there are any.
Absolutely. I'll let our attendees throw any last minute questions. And we do have one in the Q&A saying, do you have any idea in the industry how the percentage of those who use Agile versus Waterfall? Oh, what the percentage of those who use Agile versus Waterfall methodology?
No, actually, it's interesting you mentioned Agile. I don't know what the percentage is. I know that the vast majority of people using Agile are using Scrum or Scrum and something else. I don't know how helpful, yeah. And if you say using Agile, do you mean actually working in Scrum teams, practicing Scrum, or practicing? Most people, I would say the majority are doing, and I don't know, my anecdotally based on what I hear from students, are doing something that's kind of a combo. They're incorporating some agile practices into what they're doing traditionally. So yeah, agile, waterfall, combination, iterative. I mean, people are just taking agile principles and values and figuring out how do we apply this stuff to be more be more agile, incorporating agility into how they do things. But I do not know that. I don't know, maybe somebody else does. Is it worth it to be a dual certified for both PMP and PBA? Oh, for sure. Absolutely. I'm a huge advocate of the PBA certification. Yeah. So, and Elizabeth, I want to come back to your question for sure. The PBA is a great certification. Awesome certification. You'll find it super helpful. And like I say, you will learn about your project management when you do that. It's really interesting how that it's like, oh, okay, well, I do that, but that's actually BA work. And that's fine, right? It's not that you can't do it. It's just, it's not PM work. Yeah, and I will tell you that, yes, I would say that the PBA, it requires the same experience. You can tap into some of that same experience, but same projects at least. The exam is not as hard, I would say, as the PMP, at least when I took the PMP. So if there's a PM and a BA assigned to a project, would you say a BA's main purpose is writing requirements? I would say that is one of the key activities they do. The main purpose of the business analysis is to ensure that the solution adds value and addresses the business need. That's the main purpose of having a BA, is that whatever the widget, the process, the people, the technology, whatever that solution entails, their job is to make sure that that is adding value by addressing the business need. Writing requirements is a lot of it, but that's the activity. Their job is to make sure it adds value. Yeah. We use a hybrid model, mostly waterfall, until we have a Scrum. It is out when we run into an issue. Oh, we have to Scrum it out until when we run into an issue. Scrum it out. I haven't heard that. I like it. Yeah, the other certification, I'll tell you, there's another great certification, business analysis certification, which is the ECBA, Entry Certificate in Business Analysis from IIBA. And that is a really great, huge growth in that certification from IIBA. I play in both sandboxes, PMI and IIBA. And as a PMP, then you get a little exposure to one of the IIBA standards, International Institute of Business Analysis. It's great. Really good stuff. They're both really good. I highly, highly encourage you to pursue both. Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad.
Excellent, excellent. Well, it looks like that was all of our questions and right on time. So if any of you have any more questions or if you guys want to learn any more about BA classes or anything that we have here at Watermark Learning, please do not be afraid to visit us at watermarklearning.com. This is a lot of excellent information, so thank you so much, Andrea.
Yeah,
Appreciate
yeah.
you.
Cramming into a half an hour. Yeah, reach out to me on LinkedIn, folks. Love to be linked with you. That's great. Appreciate your time today. I know it's really valuable.
Absolutely. And again, if you guys didn't get to see the full session, we will be sending a recording at the end after the webinar. So be on the lookout for that if you want to take a look back on any of the stuff we talked about today. Alrighty. Thanks again, Andrea.
You bet. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your week.
Alrighty. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us.